The call hit my phone at 5:47 in the morning. I was already up, sitting at my kitchen table in my place just outside Calgary. I had my first cup of coffee in my hands, watching that winter sun try its best to push through a dull, gray Alberta sky. When you are 73, sleep is not what it used to be. My body wakes up when it feels like it, usually around 5, whether I like it or not. My phone buzzed. I looked down and saw my grandson's name, Ethan. That alone made my stomach tighten. Ethan is 15. On a weekend, he normally sleeps like a bear in a cave. A teenager does not call before 6 in the morning unless something is off. I answered right away. Ethan, what is it? What's wrong? There was a beat of silence. Then his voice came through, shaky and rushed, like he was trying not to fall apart. Grandpa Frank, whatever you do today, do not wear your Flames jersey. The red one. Please. I stared at the phone, then looked down at my chest. I was already wearing it. It was my favorite Calgary Flames jersey, the one from the 1989 Stanley Cup Championship season. My late wife, Margaret, gave it to me for our 30th anniversary, 24 years back. She hunted all over to find a real one from that year. She was proud of that gift. I wore that jersey almost every Saturday, like it was part of my skin. Ethan, I said, confused. What are you talking about? Why would I not wear it? What is going on? I cannot explain right now, he said. I could hear him breathing hard. But please, Grandpa, just trust me. Do not wear it today. Wear something else. Anything else. His voice cracked on the last part. That scared me more than the words. Son, you are scaring me, I told him. Where are you? Are you safe? I am fine, he said fast. I am at home. Just promise me. Promise you will not wear that jersey today. There was real fear in him, the kind you cannot fake. Ethan is a good kid. He gets good grades. He plays hockey. He does not pull stunts. He does not wake up early to mess with people. So if he sounded like this over a jersey, then something was wrong. Okay, I said. Okay, Ethan. I promise. The relief in his voice came out like a sob. Thank you, he whispered. I have to go. I will explain later. I love you, Grandpa. Then the call cut off. I sat there staring at my phone while my coffee cooled off. The kitchen felt too quiet. I tried to make sense of it, but my mind kept hitting the same wall. How could a hockey jersey be dangerous? I looked at that worn red fabric on my body, and, just like that, Margaret's face popped into my head. I saw her smile the day she gave it to me. She wrapped it in shiny silver paper and stuck a big bow on top, like she was giving me a treasure. Now you are official, Frank, she told me back then. A real Calgary fan. She has been gone 6 years now. Ovarian cancer. It came fast, and it was cruel. It did not give us time to bargain with it. That jersey was one of the few things I still had that felt like it belonged to her and me, not just to the past. Sometimes I swear it still carried a hint of her, even if that was only my memory messing with me. But I gave Ethan my word. I went upstairs, pulled the jersey off, and put on a plain blue sweatshirt. Then I hung the jersey carefully on the back of my bedroom door where I could see it. I did it slow, like it mattered, because it did matter. All morning, my eyes kept drifting back to it. I kept thinking, what in the world could happen today because of a jersey? By 9:30, I had an appointment I could not skip. Every third Saturday of the month, I met with my lawyer, Robert Hayes, to go over my estate and my finances. Margaret and I built a decent life. The house was paid off. We had investments. I had a solid pension. After she passed, I got real careful about keeping things in order because I did not want my kids stuck sorting out a mess. I have 2 children. My daughter Ashley lives in Vancouver. My son Brian lives here in Calgary with his wife Kayla. Lately, Brian had been leaning on me about changing my will. He and Kayla were having money problems. They made some kind of bad move with a restaurant investment, and it went under. I helped them out a few times, because he is my son and I am not made of stone. But it was never enough for him. Brian kept saying I should sell my house, move into a retirement community, and enjoy life, instead of rattling around in a big, empty place. But that house is not just walls to me. That house is mine and Margaret's. We raised our kids there. Her garden still blooms every summer. I could stand out back and almost hear her humming while she worked in the dirt. I was not ready to hand it over. I drove downtown to Robert's office, but my head stayed stuck on Ethan's call. I tried calling him back twice on the way. Both times it went straight to voicemail. I sent him a text message too. I kept my promise. Please tell me you are okay. No reply. Robert's office sat in one of those newer glass towers downtown, all clean lines and shiny windows. I parked in the underground garage and rode the elevator up to the 14th floor. At the front desk sat the receptionist, a young woman named Brittany. She always remembered me, and she gave me a polite smile when I walked in. "Good morning, Mr. Patterson," she said. "You can go right in. Robert is expecting you." I nodded and walked down the hall toward his office. That is when I heard voices. Not friendly voices either. Angry ones. One of them was Robert. The other one made the hair on my arms lift, because I knew it, even before I placed it. I slowed down. Robert's door was cracked open just a little, not closed all the way. I heard Robert say, firm and irritated, "You cannot just make changes like that without his knowledge. Kayla, that is not how this works." Then I heard my daughter-in-law's voice, tight, like a pulled wire. "He signed the power of attorney form. That gives Brian the authority." Robert snapped back. "A general power of attorney does not give your husband the right to change the beneficiaries on his father's life insurance policy without Frank's clear consent. And it sure does not give him the right to put you both as primary beneficiaries while removing Ashley entirely." My whole body went cold, like somebody opened a freezer door. Kayla said, "He is 73, Robert. He is starting to slip. Last week he forgot where he parked at the grocery store. Brian is just trying to protect him." Robert's voice turned sharp, the way it does when he is done playing nice. "Protect him by stealing from him? Because that is what this looks like, Kayla." I did not think. I just pushed the door open. Both of them turned and looked at me. Kayla's face drained pale, then flushed red like she got slapped. Robert stood up right away. "Frank," he said, and I could tell he was relieved I showed up. "I am glad you are here. We need to talk." Kayla recovered fast. She pasted on a sweet smile like she was putting on makeup. "Dad," she said, like we were in the middle of a family dinner. "We were just discussing some paperwork. Brian and I have been so worried about you. We thought we should understand all your finances in case." "In case what?" I asked. I kept my voice steady, but my throat felt tight. "In case I die? In case I lose my mind?" Kayla lifted her hands like she wanted to calm me down. "No, Dad. That is not." But Robert cut in. He turned his computer screen toward me. "Here is what is going on," he said. Then he laid it out, plain as day. 2 weeks ago, someone used a power of attorney document with your signature to access your accounts, Robert told me. "They changed the beneficiaries on your life insurance policy. $1,200,000. It was set up to go to Ashley and Brian equally. Now it lists Brian and Kayla only." My ears rang. I felt like I was standing on a floor that suddenly turned soft. Robert kept going, because the truth was not finished. "They also started paperwork to transfer the deed of your house into a family trust," he said, tapping the screen, "with Brian named as the trustee." I stood there in that office, wearing my plain blue sweatshirt, thinking about my grandson's trembling voice, thinking about my wife's jersey hanging on my bedroom door, and realizing something ugly was happening around me. And I still did not know why Ethan was so afraid of that red jersey. My head swam for a second. The room felt like it leaned to one side. "I never signed any power of attorney," I said. "Are you sure?" Kayla's voice turned soft and sugary, that tone people use when they think an older man is confused. "But you did sign papers at our place last month," she said. "Remember dinner? You signed a few things." I did remember. Brian told me it was about updating emergency contacts. He said it was so they could access my medical records if something happened. He made it sound like routine, like no big deal. I signed because I trusted him. "He is my son." "Robert," I said, "I need to see those documents." He turned his computer monitor toward me. The form was scanned into his system. Right there on the screen was a power of attorney paper with my signature. At first glance, it looked like my handwriting. But the more I stared, the more my gut told me something was wrong. I leaned closer. "The date says March 15th, 2024, I said slowly. "That cannot be right. I was in Vancouver that whole week visiting Ashley. I have plane tickets. I have receipts. I have pictures. I was not even in Calgary." Robert's eyebrows lifted. "Then that signature is forged," he said. "No," I said, finishing the thought myself. "Then this whole thing is a lie." I turned and looked at Kayla. "Did Brian do this?" Kayla stood up fast like her chair was suddenly on fire. "I think I should go," she said. "This is between you and your son." I stood up too. My voice came out the way it used to back when I was a high school principal. the voice that stopped teenagers mid-step in the hallway. "Sit down," I said. She froze. "You are not leaving until I understand what you two have been doing," I told her. Kayla's smile vanished. "We have not been planning anything," she said, defensive now. "We are trying to help you, Dad. You are getting older. You are alone. You are vulnerable. We just want to make sure you are taken care of." I stared at her. "By taking my house?" I asked. "By cutting your sister-in-law out of my life insurance." Kayla's mouth tightened. "It is not stealing," she snapped. "If it is going to be ours anyway. Eventually." The second the words left her mouth, she realized what she said. She went still. The silence in that office was heavy, like a weight pressing down on my chest. "Get out," I said, low and steady. "Dad," she started. "I said get out," I repeated. "Get out of this office now." Kayla grabbed her purse with shaking hands and hurried out like she was running from a fire. Robert and I sat there in the quiet that followed. My heart was pounding, but my face felt numb. "Frank," Robert said gently, "I think we need to call the police." I heard him. I did. But my mind jumped back to that early morning call, to Ethan's fear, to his urgent warning. How did my grandson know today was the day? I muttered. "Robert," I said, "I need to make a phone call first." I stepped into the hallway and called Ethan. This time, he answered on the first ring. "Grandpa," he blurted out, "are you okay?" "I am okay," I said. "Ethan, tell me the truth. How did you know about the jersey?" There was a long pause. When he spoke again, his voice was breaking, and I could hear him crying. "I heard my mom and dad fighting last night," he said. "I could not sleep. They thought I was asleep, but I was not." I pressed my free hand against the wall to steady myself. "Dad was yelling," Ethan continued, "about how you were supposed to wear that jersey today, like you always do on Saturday. Mom said something about how someone would see you, and then Dad he lost it." "Slow down," I said. "Take a breath. Tell me what you heard, step by step." Ethan sniffed hard. "Mom said Mrs. Peterson," he started, then corrected himself like he was trying to remember. "No, Mrs. Chun, the lady from your neighborhood watch group. Mom said Mrs. Chun was supposed to see you wearing that red jersey and report to the police that you have been acting confused and erratic. Like you have been wearing the same clothes for days. Like you are not taking care of yourself." My stomach dropped. Ethan kept going. "And it was not just her," he said. "Mom said there were other people too, who were going to say the same stuff. Dad was going to use it to prove you cannot take care of yourself anymore. Then he could get a guardian put in place. And then he would control everything." My legs went weak. I leaned harder against the wall. "Mrs. Chun. Eileen Chun. I knew her from the neighborhood watch meetings. I did not know her well, but I knew her name." Ethan's voice was small now. "Mom kept saying the plan was for today, Saturday," he said. "Because you always wear that jersey on Saturday. That is why I called you. I was scared, Grandpa. I did not know what else to do." I swallowed hard. "You did the right thing," I told him. "You did exactly the right thing. You protected me." "Are they going to get in trouble?" he asked, scared and hopeful at the same time. For a second my mind flashed through old memories of Brian. Me holding his bike seat while he learned to ride. Me sitting through every hockey practice and every school play. Me helping him through his divorce 15 years ago. I raised that boy to be honest. I raised him to be kind. So where did this come from? "I do not know yet," I said. "But listen to me, Ethan. None of this is your fault. Not one bit. You were brave. You were loyal. I am proud of you." "I love you, Grandpa," he whispered. "I love you too," I said, and I meant it with my whole heart. I ended the call and walked back into Robert's office. "We are calling the police," I said. Robert nodded once, serious. But I had one more question burning in my head. "Before we do," I told him, "I need you to explain something. If I had worn that jersey and people reported it, how would that help them take over my life?" Robert sat forward and spoke carefully. "If they pulled it off," he said, "they would build a story that you are not mentally fit. Multiple witnesses would claim you were wearing the same clothing repeatedly, not changing, not taking basic care of yourself. Adding claims of confusion and erratic behavior. Combine that with a forged power of attorney and your son already positioned as your caretaker." He paused, then said the part that made my skin crawl. "A judge might have granted him guardianship. And after that?" I asked. "After that," Robert said, "your assets would effectively be under his control." I stared at the desk. "How long have they been working on this?" I asked. Robert glanced back at the files on his screen. Based on what I am seeing, he said, at least 6 months. Possibly longer. 6 months. I thought back over the last half year. The sudden dinner invitations. Kayla asking too many questions about my health. Brian acting extra concerned. Him telling me I needed to slow down. Telling me the house was too much. Those looks they gave each other. The gentle little comments about my memory, like they were planting seeds. They were building a story about me. And I almost walked right into it. The police came in and took my statement. Robert handed over the documents and explained the forged signature and the beneficiary changes. Everything went from confusing to serious in a hurry. Then I called Ashley in Vancouver. When I told her what happened, she went quiet, like the air had left her lungs. "That is my baby brother," she said finally, her voice shaking. I had no idea. She caught the next flight home. The whole thing was awful. But the worst part did not hit until 3 days later. That afternoon, a detective came to my house. Her name was Karen Mitchell. She looked to be in her 40s, sharp-eyed, but not cold. She carried herself like a person who had seen a lot and still cared anyway. "Mr. Patterson," she said, "I need to show you something." She pulled out a tablet, opened a file, and turned it toward me. "We executed a search warrant on your son's home computer," she said. "We found electronic mail messages between him and your daughter-in-law." I blinked. "How far back?" I asked. 18 months, she said. My throat went dry. 18 months. I repeated. That is before my wife passed." Karen's face tightened in a way that told me she did not like delivering news like this. "I am afraid so," she said. "There are messages discussing how they would wait until after Margaret died, because she would be suspicious and protective of you." It felt like someone punched me right in the chest. Then she said the part that made my hands start to shake. "They specifically talked about the Calgary Flames jersey," she said. "They wrote that after your wife passed away, you started wearing it every Saturday. They planned to use that habit as evidence of mental decline." I looked down at my hands. I thought about Margaret. I thought about that jersey hanging upstairs. And I realized this was not some sudden mistake. They had been circling me for a long time. I felt like somebody had taken a hammer to my chest. An old man stuck in the past. A man who could not move forward. That is what they were trying to paint me as. And then it hit me even harder, because my wife Margaret had sensed something for a long time. Margaret never trusted Kayla. Not really. She stayed polite, but she kept her at arm's length. She never fully warmed up to her. I used to think Margaret was just being protective. I even wondered if she was a little jealous, the way spouses can be when a new person comes into the family and changes the balance. But the truth was simpler than that. Margaret saw something I did not. Detective Karen Mitchell watched my face and softened her voice. "There is more," she said. I braced myself. "We found records of 5 other people they recruited," she told me. 5 people they lined up to report concerns about you. Mrs. Chun was one of them. I clenched my jaw. "Mrs. Chun is cooperating now," Karen added. "She says Kayla told her it was for your own good. That you were declining, that you were in denial, and that the family needed help proving it. Mrs. Chun says she feels awful." 5 people. Not a misunderstanding. Not a single lie. A whole setup. A planned attack on my reputation, my independence, and my right to run my own life. I sat there in my own house and felt the weight of it, like somebody dropped a concrete block on my shoulders. "What happens now?" I asked. Karen did not sugarcoat it. "Brian and Kayla have been arrested," she said. "They are being charged with attempted fraud, forgery, conspiracy, and elder abuse. The Crown Attorney is taking this seriously." Then she gave me another warning. "You should know this will probably become public," she said. "Elder fraud is a growing problem in Canada. The Crown may want to make an example of this. A trial. Publicity." I pictured headlines. Neighbors whispering. People looking at me like I was some helpless old man who got tricked in his own home. The idea made my stomach turn. But even then, my mind kept going back to Ethan. I kept seeing him in my head the way he sounded on the phone that morning. Scared. Crying. Still brave enough to warn me, even though he knew it meant turning against his own parents. That boy did the right thing when the right thing was hard. The legal process dragged on for 6 months. My daughter Ashley stayed close to me the whole time. She was solid as a rock. She handled phone calls, helped me keep my head straight, and made sure I ate something when I forgot. And Ethan stayed close too. He could not live with his parents after what happened. Not after what he heard. Not after what he learned. He moved in with Ashley in Vancouver for a while. He needed safety. He needed space to breathe. During the case, Ethan's testimony mattered a lot. What he overheard that night, that fight about the jersey and the plan, became a key part of what the Crown used to show intent. In the end, Brian and Kayla both pleaded guilty. There was too much evidence. Brian got 3 years in prison. Kayla got 2. I sat in that courtroom and watched my son accept his sentence. He looked smaller than I remembered. He had lost weight. He looked older by 10 years, like the stress chewed him up and spit him out. When our eyes met, he mouthed 2 words. I am sorry. I could not answer. I did not even know what to do with that. I looked away. People think the hardest part is the trial, or the news, or the shame. For me, the hardest part was a moment with Ethan. He asked me a question that still follows me around. Grandpa, he said, how did Dad turn out like that? You raised him to be good. What happened? I did not have an answer then. I am still not sure I have a perfect one now. But sitting here at my kitchen table 2 years later, I can see pieces of it clearer than I could back then. Desperation can bend people into shapes they never imagined they would become. Money pressure, pride, fear. These things eat at a person little by little, like water wearing down stone. It happens so slowly you do not notice it until the damage is already done. Brian had been struggling for years. He was too proud to admit how bad it was. Kayla came from money, and she hated the feeling of losing comfort and status. She resented it. Together, they built something toxic. My existence, and everything I worked for, started to look like a problem to them instead of a blessing. They convinced themselves they were owed it. They told themselves I was too old to need it. They told themselves they were just speeding up what would happen someday anyway. And somewhere along the way, they stopped seeing me as a human being. To them, I became an account balance with a pulse. I still wear Margaret's jersey every Saturday. I refuse to let them steal that from me too. Ethan comes over on those mornings. Now he is 17, almost ready for university. We sit together and watch hockey night in Canada. We eat pizza. We talk about everything and nothing. Sometimes we barely talk at all. We just sit there, and that is enough. Every once in a while, he asks about his dad. I do not lie to him. I tell him his father made terrible choices. I tell him his father hurt people he claimed to love, and now he is paying the price. But I also tell Ethan something else, because it is true. Good people can do bad things. And that does not erase every good thing they did before. Brian was a loving father at one time. He had decent years. He had real moments. Then greed and fear got their hands on him. Ethan will have to choose for himself what kind of relationship he wants with his parents when they get out. I will not push him one way or the other. That choice belongs to him. As for me, I learned lessons I never wanted to learn. I learned family can hurt you deeper than any stranger. I learned that being older, being alone, and being trusting can make you a target for the very people who should protect you. But I learned something good too. Heroes show up where you do not expect them. Sometimes a hero is a 15-year-old boy who chooses what is right over what is easy. A boy who risks his relationship with his parents to save his grandfather. After everything happened, I updated my will. Ashley is the executor now. Everything is tightened up with extra protections and verification steps. Robert sees to that personally. There are no loose ends left lying around. And something else changed in me. I started speaking out. The Crown Attorney connected me with elder abuse prevention groups around Alberta. I began traveling to senior centers and community groups to tell my story. I stand up in front of rooms full of people with gray hair and tired eyes, and I warn them about the signs. I tell them to watch for family members who suddenly get real interested in their finances. I tell them to be careful when someone pressures them to sign papers. I tell them to notice when someone tries to isolate them from other relatives. I tell them to pay attention when people start questioning their competence for no good reason. And I tell them this, plain and clear. Trust your instincts. Ask questions. Demand transparency. Do not sign anything unless you understand it completely, no matter who is asking. Then I tell them about Ethan. I talk about cross-generational relationships. I talk about teaching young people that integrity matters more than blind loyalty. I talk about raising kids who will do the right thing even when it costs them. Because this is the truth I want people to carry with them. Elder abuse is not usually loud. It is rarely some stranger kicking down a door. It is often quiet. It is subtle. It is someone you love and trust, slowly taking control, step by step, until one day you wake up and realize you are trapped. And it can happen to anyone. I spent 30 years as a high school principal. I earned a master's degree in education. I handled budgets. I supervised staff. I dealt with teenagers who thought they were smarter than every adult on the planet. I was not foolish, but I still almost became a victim because I made one mistake. I trusted without verifying. I kept seeing the boy my son used to be, instead of the man he had become. These days, that red jersey still hangs in my closet, preserved and cared for. I still wear it on Saturdays, but I had it professionally cleaned and stored the right way. Margaret would have approved of that. She always liked taking care of the things that mattered. Sometimes I picture what she would have said if she had been here to see all of this. I think she would have spotted the danger earlier than I did. She had better instincts about people. She would have been furious. She would have been heartbroken too. And I am grateful she did not have to live through that pain. Last week, I got a letter from Brian. Brian is up for parole soon, and he wants to meet me face to face. He says he wants to talk and apologize the right way. I have not decided if I am going to go. Ashley thinks I should. She says it might give me closure. Ethan, wise in a way most grown men are not, told me, "It is your choice, Grandpa. I will support whatever you decide." I keep thinking about something Detective Karen Mitchell said to me during the investigation. She has been working elder abuse cases for 10 years, and she told me the thing that always stuck with her was this. Most of these crimes are not just about money. They are crimes of broken relationships. Somewhere along the way, people stop talking. Needs do not get met. Resentments build. Small hurts turn into infected wounds. Then, before anybody admits what is happening, the whole family is poisoned. I have replayed a lot of maybe in my head. Maybe if I had seen Brian's money problems earlier, really seen them, things would have been different. Maybe if he felt like he could ask me for help without shame, without pride choking him, he would not have taken this road. Maybe if Kayla came from a family where worth was not measured by bank statements, she would not have pushed so hard, so coldly. Maybe. But maybe does not change what happened. It does not give me back the son I thought I had. It does not erase the nights Ethan spent crying in his room while his family cracked apart. It does not restore the innocence of a 15-year-old kid who had to choose between his father and his grandfather. No kid should have to make that kind of choice. That is a grown-up burden, and it forced him to grow up too fast. What this whole ugly experience did do was remind me what really matters. Not money, not property, not legacy in the usual sense. What matters is integrity, honesty, the guts to do what is right even when it costs you, and the wisdom to accept that people you love can still do awful things. When I look at Ethan now, I see a tall young man who was brave when it counted. And I see hope. I see somebody who will not confuse love with enabling. I see somebody who will not mistake silence for peace. He understands that real loyalty sometimes means saying hard truths out loud. That is my legacy now. Not the house, not the investments, not the account balances. My legacy is this young man who looked at a moral choice and chose the right side. He understood that protecting someone sometimes means protecting them from the worst parts of themselves. Every Saturday morning when Ethan comes over, we put on our jerseys. He has his own now, same colors as mine. And every time I see him pull it on, I think about that early call, that scared teenage voice saying, "Whatever you do, do not wear your red jersey." It sounds small when you say it out loud. It sounds almost silly. But that warning changed everything. It saved me, sure, from losing money and losing my independence. But it also saved me from losing myself. It stopped me from becoming the helpless victim my son needed me to be, so he could justify what he planned to do. It protected my dignity. It protected my right to live my life on my own terms for as long as I can. And it taught me the biggest lesson of all. Sometimes the youngest voice in the room is the wisest one. Kids see what adults pretend not to see. And courage is not about feeling fearless. Courage is being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. So if you are older, or you have older parents, or you think, that would never happen in my family, I want you to hear me. Pay attention. Ask questions. Trust, but verify. And teach your kids and grandkids that love sometimes means standing up to the people you love most. Because that is what saved me. Not just the lawyers. Not just the police. Not just the legal protections, even though all of that mattered. What saved me was a teenage boy who loved me enough to risk everything. He understood that real family protects each other from harm, even when the harm comes from inside the family. That jersey still hangs in my closet. Red, faded, and precious. It was Margaret's gift all those years ago. Now it is more than a reminder of her love. It is a symbol of survival. Proof that objects can carry meaning way beyond what they cost or what they are made of. I am 75 now. Ethan is heading to university in the fall. He says he wants to study law. He says he wants to help people like me, to fight for folks who cannot fight for themselves. Ashley comes in from Vancouver every month. We are rebuilding, slowly, what Brian's betrayal shattered. And every Saturday, I wear that jersey. Not because I am stubborn. Not because I am stuck in the past. I wear it because it reminds me I made it through. I stayed myself. And when the people I trusted most tried to take everything from me, a 15-year-old boy made sure they failed. That is the story I tell now. I tell it at community centers. I tell it in senior homes. I tell it at police conferences and legal seminars. Not to make people paranoid. Not to make them suspicious of everyone they love. I tell it to make people aware. I tell it to give them permission to question things, to resist pressure, to stand up for themselves, even when it means standing against family. Because getting older does not make you weak. It does not make you foolish. It does not make you less worthy of autonomy. But it can make you vulnerable to people who see your age as an opportunity, instead of seeing it as a life well lived. Do not let them. Stay sharp. Stay curious. Stay willing to say, show me the paperwork, and explain that again. And no, I am not signing that. And for the love of God, listen when a teenager calls you at dawn with a warning that sounds crazy. Sometimes crazy is the most rational thing in the world. Sometimes a red jersey is not just a shirt. Sometimes it is a line in the sand. A declaration that you will not go quietly, that you will not be diminished, that you are still fully human and fully yourself, right up to the end. That is what Margaret would have wanted. That is what Ethan protected. And that is what I am determined to keep. Every Saturday morning, wearing red, watching hockey, and refusing to let betrayal be the final word in my life. I survived, and so can you.